That's the way things are here. The way things are, everybody's invited.
You sure you're not taking the piss with us, all of us, you know?
Taking the piss? Not at all. I'm just...
Were you surprised to find this here when you arrived first time?
To find...
This kind of place?
Oh yes. Yeah,
because the rest of India isn't like this, is it?
No, not really.
Delhi is quite the opposite of...
Delhi's cold, as in people don't share nothing, don't get together. There's a hierarchy in Delhi, isn't there? Much of a hierarchy, which I'm not going to say too much about that, because but the rest of India, you are welcome, but I don't know, the Himalayas, man. The Himachal Pradesh, Himalayan region, the foothills of the Himalayas, whichever way you want to see it. The people here are so welcoming that they're ready to accept. Without the want of, without any wants or the want of anything whatsoever. Imagine that. I couldn't imagine it. I'm just trying to put in words now the experience of how I've had, and I'm surprising myself with the memories of, to the questions that are being asked. A lot happens here to you, and the way you believe in the life in Himachal. Certainly does. Certainly does.
And this trip, how long has it lasted you here?
Well, I've been coming and going Himachal since last January. So, close to a year now. Very close to a year. I've come, I've gone, I've trekked, I've stayed in small villages. All in Himachal Pradesh, but I've spent a little bit of time outside Himachal as well.
Would you say you're smitten now?
No, I wouldn't say I'm smitten. Still there's a lot of work to do before.
And you're prepared to put in the time?
Yes, yes. The time aspect. Yeah, of course, I don't think there'd be any too long a time aspect that could be asked for to get involved in projects.
Do you think there are other people who who would jump at the opportunity to come out here and
yes, I'd say so.
Keep you company? And
I'd say there would. Yes, certainly. How many people have you met in the last 2 or 3 days and talked about projects that are happening here or that you'd like to happen here through what you're doing yourselves? And straight away, boom, I switched on. What? A lot of people are looking for certain ways to get involved in India, be it sweeping up, making tea, teaching songs to children while adults are being educated on various agriculture projects or whatever. And there's a lot of people who would be interested. So many people.
What's the difference, the contrast you see between Africa and India?
Contrast of Africa and India. Africa's beautiful. Africa has soul, has love. Very much, you go into rural communities in Africa, it's very much the same as here. People share what they do not have to keep a community alive and keep it productive.
So do you think that there is some kind of blessing out of being poor? That in a way poverty draws humanity together and money splits them apart?
When you've got money, you have a life, but it's a life that you can afford. Therefore, that life becomes fabricated, if that's how we're talking rich, which I believe we are.
Correct. Financial wealth.
Financial wealth. So, therefore, you're buying a fabricated lifestyle. If you're born with no money, life is more whole, no? Life is more natural, the way it's supposed to be. The communication comes free and easy. There's no boundaries between people. Everybody knows how each other is. There doesn't seem to be much of a change.
And how do you see India changing in the last 9 years you've come here? What do you see the changes are? in a decade span.
It changes. Population growth is one. More ground being trampled, more ground being ruined. More tourism, certainly more tourism, be it for good or be it for bad. But there's a lot more people switched on now. There's a lot more people who want projects, who want green projects, who want eco-tourism. And I believe there's a lot of people who would love to see a cleaner environment. You know, it's one thing that a tourist always does. They look at it, oh, it's beautiful, but and the but seems to come from the environment being trashed. Everybody's but. So if they're saying but, how many people would be interested to get involved in such a cause? Especially here in the Himalayas. Especially here in the Himalayas.
Do you feel sometimes like a time traveler? Almost that you've traveled back in time when you go to these villages?
Well, certainly the developments of our world that have taken place in my lifetime have been hard to shake off. Yeah, the expectancy of a clean bed or a hot shower or a pillow or a bar of soap or something, it's very much like a time traveller. It can take you a while to catch up. Nothing happens here to yourself or a realisation of how a place works, a country or an area or a region or a village, instantaneously. Nothing happens that way. The more time you invest, the more it becomes you and the more you understand of how a family unit is, of how an area is, what they would like to see, what they wouldn't like to see, what people they like, what people they don't like, coming to the areas and developing. The more time you do invest here, the more you realise.
Do you find families here where parents just go off on a drink, leaving the kids?
No. No, I don't see that.
Why is that?
I don't. No pubs. No, there are pubs and there is alcohol, as in every culture. But no, I don't see that. Children here, very, very important and very well looked after. Without the distraction of computer games or TVs, without, everything is done from person to person. But certainly not leave their kids alone. Certainly not. And you look around, the children are happy. Big smiles on their faces. They're not frustrated. They're not got anger in them. They're not writing on walls. They're not fighting each other, going to different villages and saying, hey, we're harder than you, we're tougher. No, they blend in, they gen together. Surely that is an impact of their environments. Surely.
So people respect children here?
Of course. Yeah, 100%.
And do you see that respect in the UK?
Do I see that? No, I don't. If the truth be known, I don't. And I haven't seen it for years. I've been travelling a long time now, and I've been to communities and countries where family is the most important, primarily. Nothing can grow unless you have a family base. Nothing can grow. It doesn't seem to be that way in England. People seem to want to grow before they get the family sorted out, leaving a big gap, leaving frustration, which we all know the problems UK has today in that respect.
Do you think the United Kingdom is poorer for the lack of love amongst the families?
Yeah, there's not much devotion to each other. You're going to kill me when you see this, if you do see this in the UK, but there's certainly more respect here between families than from what I see in England. It's a big competition in England, isn't it? Always has been. We want the bigger house, we want the bigger garden, we want the bigger car, we want the better clothes for our kids, and it's kind of not to generate themselves inside, but to say to the outside, look, hey, look what we've got. That creates a divide straight away. As soon as you do that, it creates a massive divide.
And do you see that people working collectively here to build houses, to farm? So it's everyone's like collectively doing things instead of an
Preparations.
insular thing.
Preparation